elkeen van julle in hierdie ons slaan na die berge en soms wonder ons waar vandaan sal daar vir ons hulp kom. Maar dan besef ons hulp is van die Here wat hemel en aarde gemaak het en wat trou bly tot in alle ewigheid. Gemeente, genade, barmhartigheid en vrede word u ryklik geskenk van God ons Vader, van Jesus Christus die Here en van die Heilige Gees. Amen. Kan maar sit. Geliefdes in ons Here Jesus Christus, ons lees vanoggend saam uit die woord van die Here, uit die Nuwe Testament, en ons lees saam uit die Evangelie volgens Johannes, daar die 10de hoofstuk, die 1ste tot 21ste vers daarvan. Johannes hoofstuk 10, vanaf vers 1. Dit verseker ek julle, wie nie deur die hek in die skaapkraal ingaan nie, maar van 'n ander kant af inklim, is 'n dief en 'n rower. Maar hy wat deur die hek ingaan, is die skape se herder. Vir hom maak die hekwagter oop. Die skape luister na die herder se stem. Hy roep sy skape op hulle name en lei hulle uit. Wanneer hy al sy skape uitgebring het, loop hy voor hulle uit, en die skape volg hom, omdat hulle sy stem ken. Hulle sal nooit 'n vreemde volg nie, maar van hom af weghardloop, omdat hulle nie die stem van vreemdes ken nie. Deur hierdie beeld het Jesus met hulle gepraat, maar hulle het nie verstaan wat dit was wat hy vir hulle wou sê nie. Toe het Jesus verder gesê, dit verseker ek julle, ek is die ingang vir die skape. Almal wat voor my gekom het, is diewe en rowers, maar die skape het nie na hulle geluister nie. Ek is die ingang. As iemand deur my ingaan, sal hy gered word. Hy sal in en uitgaan en veiding kry. 'n Dief kom net steel en slag en uitroei. Ek het gekom sodat hulle die lewe kan hê, en dit in oorvloed. Ek is die goeie herder. Die goeie herder lê sy lewe af vir die skape. 'n Huurling is geen herder nie, en dit is nie sy eie skape nie. As hy 'n wolf sien kom, los hy die skape en hardloop weg, en die wolf vang die skape en jaag die trop uitmekaar. Hy is 'n huurling en bekommer hom nie oor die skape nie. Ek is die goeie herder. Ek ken my skape en my skape ken my. Net soos die Vader my ken en ek die Vader ken, en ek lê my lewe af vir die skape. Ek het nog ander skape wat nie van hierdie kraal is nie. Ek moet hulle ook lei. Hulle sal na my stem luister en hulle sal een kudde wees met een herder. Die Vader het my lief omdat ek my lewe aflê om dit weer op te neem. Niemand neem dit van my af nie, maar ek lê dit uit my eie af. Ek het die volmag om dit af te lê en ek het die volmag om dit weer op te neem. Dit is die opdrag wat ek van my Vader ontvang het. Ons lees tot sover. Gelukkig is elkeen van u wat hierdie woorde hoor. Nog meer gelukkig is ons as ons hierdie woorde nie net hoor nie, maar hierdie woorde glo as God se woord wat tot elkeen van ons spreek. Terwyl ons net so sit, kom ons sluit die oë, dan bid ons saam. Here, in ons swakheid en in ons nietigheid is ons vandag hier by mekaar met harte wat seer is. Met 'n gemoed wat so maklik in die onsekerheid wil weghardloop. Omdat ons hier moet kom afskeid neem. Afskeid neem van 'n geliefde seun, 'n geliefde man, 'n broer, 'n vriend, 'n kollega. Omdat ons moet kom afskeid neem, omdat dit U behaag het om sy aardse lewe te laat ophou. Maar dankie Here dat ons ook in ons saamwees vandag hier ons oog na U kan ophef, ons oog opnuut op U kan plaas en ons hand in U hand kan hou. En dat ons ook kan weet dat al het Christo sy laaste asem hier op aarde uitgeblaas, dat daar by U 'n nuwe lewe is, 'n lewe wat U kom moontlik maak het in Jesus Christus ons Here. En daarom, Here, wil ons vra dat U self ook nou hier U troos en U krag sal gee. En dat U ons met U eie hand ook deur hierdie pad van afskeid sal lei. Daarom ons gebed, dat U vir ons 'n rustigheid nou in die gemoed sal gee, 'n kalmte in die hart en 'n geopende oor, sodat ons U stem sal hoor. Ons bid dit en vra dit in Jesus se naam alleen. Amen. Geliefdes, kom ons sing saam. Daar op die blaadjie is gedruk die lied wat ons gaan saam sing. Daar is 2 strofes, die Afrikaans en die Engelse strofe. Die Afrikaans is genade onbeskryflik groot en die Engels daarvan is Amazing Grace. Ons gaan dan al 2 strofes sing, eers die Afrikaans en daarna die Engels. Ek is die naam van kind nie werd, wou self my sake reël. My lewe, kanse, tyd en geld is nutteloos verspeel. Genade onbeskryflik groot het U aan my bewys. Verlore seune wegloop kind, weer in die Vaderhuis. Kom ons staan en dan sing ons al 2 die strofes. Liewe familie en vriende, broers en susters, ons teksvers vir vandag se prediking is vers 14 van Johannes hoofstuk 10. Ek is die goeie herder. Ek ken my skape en my skape ken my. Net soos die Vader my ken en ek die Vader ken. En ek lê my lewe af vir die skape. Ek is die goeie herder. Ek ken my skape en my skape ken my. En ek lê my lewe af vir my skape. Geliefdes, wanneer ons met die dood gekonfronteer word, is dit altyd ontydig. Want mens kan jouself nooit regtig voorberei op die werklikheid van die dood en die verganklikheid van die mens nie. Wanneer die dood op ons pad kom, is daar altyd skok. Skok wat gevul word met hartseer en natuurlik al die dinge wat daarmee saamgaan. Die onsekerheid en die gemis, die leegheid wat daar so in 'n mens se hart ontstaan. En wanneer ons so met die dood dan gekonfronteer word, dan is dit asof ons in ons gedagtes hierdie flitsse van herinnering beleef. Soos 'n rolprent, 'n film wat voor 'n mens in jou gedagtes afspeel. En ek is seker die afgelope paar dae vandat Christo gesterf het tot vandag toe, het ons al 'n klomp sulke herinnerings deur ons gedagtes laat maal. Ja, hierdie film speel af gedagtes daar waar hy 'n kind in die huis was. Klein seentjie. Een wat opgroei en 'n man word. Wat trou. En 'n eggenoot word vir sy vrou. Wat saam met sy broers en later ook hulle vrouens en later ook hulle kinders saam 'n familie vorm. Hierdie film speel af daar waar hy saam met sy vriende ook gesellig verkeer, miskien om 'n braaivleisvuur, miskien op 'n uitstappie, 'n vinnige heen en weer. Hierdie film speel af op 'n spesifieke deel daar waar hy ernstig besig is om sy werk te doen, saam met sy kollegas wat soms meer as net kollegas is en ook vriende word. Ja, mens sien in hierdie film wat so voor jou afspeel, die spore wat hy los in mense se lewens. Daai spore van onbaatsigtigheid. Daai spore van vrygewigheid. Mens onthou en mens sien hoe hy baie keer ten koste van homself ander mense eerste geplaas het. Omdat dit vir hom belangrik was. Om ook sy naaste lief te hê en te respekteer vir wie en vir wat hulle was. En so speel hierdie film herhaaldelik oor en oor in ons gedagtes weer en weer dieselfde beelde. En die wonderlike daarvan is dat dit nie sleg is nie. Dat dit kosbare oomblikke is wat 'n mens vir altyd in jou gedagtes kan koester. Want dit is mooi. Dit is wonderlik. En niemand kan dit ooit van ons af wegneem nie. Ja, broers en susters, dan is daar ook 'n verdere beeld wat 'n werklikheid is wat ook in hierdie rolprent, in hierdie film van Christo se lewe is. En dit is die rol wat die Here in sy lewe ook ingeneem het. Sy geloofslewe. 'n Man wat die Here ook geken het. Wat die Here ook gedien het. En wat hom na sy vermoë probeer altyd gehoorsaam het. Hierdie gedeelte wat ons dan ook vandag saam gelees het, Dis 'n gedeelte waar die Here besig is om ook sy volk, sy navolgelinge, sy mense te onderrig. En in hierdie onderrig maak hy gebruik van die baie bekende beeld wat ons almal ken, van 'n herder met sy skape. En hy sê ook vir hulle, ek is die goeie herder. En broers en susters, kom ons neem ons gedagtes nou na daardie beeld van 'n herder met sy skape. 'n Skaapkraal met 'n ingang. 'n Herder wat daardie skape met liefde en toewyding versorg, beskerm. En aan elkeen van daardie skape wat in daardie kraal is, net die beste wil gee. Genoeg kos, genoeg water en al die beskerming wat hulle nodig het. Ja, en hierdie verhouding tussen hierdie skape en hierdie herder is daar 'n besondere band, 'n baie intieme verhouding wat ons van lees. Ons lees van skape wat absoluut afhanklik is van hierdie herder. En ons lees van hierdie herder wat met soveel toewyding en erns hierdie skape van hom liefhet. Wat elkeen van hulle ken en hulle op 'n naam noem en hulle roep om hom te volg. Hierdie skape is dankbaar om in afhanklikheid te kan leef, omdat hulle weet dat hierdie herder altyd vir hulle sal daar wees. Onbaatsigtig, selfopofferend, dat hy elkeen van hulle sal beskerm op elke pad wat hulle beweeg. In hierdie beeld vertel Jesus vir die omstanders dat net soos wat 'n klomp skape 'n herder het, so is hy self vir sy kinders 'n herder. Maar meer nog, hy is ook vir hulle die ingang tot daardie skaapkraal. Niemand kan in en uit daardie kraal as hy dit nie toelaat nie. Geliefdes, as ons dink aan Jesus en wie hy in ons lewens is, wie hy vir ons kan wees, en ons dink aan die beeld van 'n goeie herder, dan besef ons ook dat Jesus daardie een is wat elke dag vir elkeen van ons ook gee wat ons nodig het. Nie soos 'n herder water en kos en beskerming nie, maar nog soveel meer. Ons kry by God ook al die krag wat ons nodig het om elke dag te kan bestaan. Ons kry soveel voorregte om te kan loop en te kan sien en te kan asemhaal. Ons kry by God die hoop waar alles hopeloos rondom ons is. Hy gee raad daar waar dit vir ons voel asof niemand raad het nie. Hy gee vir ons moed en bystand wanneer ons moedeloos en hulpeloos voel. Jesus sê verder dat hy die een is wat altyd versorg deur aan ons 'n plek te gee waar ons veilig kan wees. Dat ons 'n veilige plek kan hê ook teen die aanslae en die seerkry van hierdie lewe. Want hy self is nie net die herder nie, hy is ook die ingang tot die kraal. En hierdie beeld is die beeld wat vir ons simboliseer dat hy die ingang tot die lewe is. Ons aardse lewe, omdat ons dit aan ons beloof is, het hy ook vir ons 'n kraal na hierdie een gegee, 'n hemelse lewe. Hy beloof dit vir ons met sy hemelvaart. dat hy ons vooruitgaan om vir ons 'n plek te gaan gereed maak, 'n kraal in orde te gaan kry, sodat elkeen wat in hom glo ook in daardie kraal kan ingaan. Deur hom kry ons ook deel aan 'n ewige lewe. Ja, broers en susters, in ons Here Jesus Christus, die seerste seer van hierdie wêreld en van hierdie lewe is die dood. Op 'n skaal van 0 tot 100 is dit 100% seer kry. Want die verlies is 'n werklikheid en daar is geen omdraai daarin nie. Daar is nie nog 'n laaste of nog 'n keer of nog net een keer nie. Die dood is finaal. En dis juis omdat die dood so seer is en so finaal is, dat God self vir ons daardie redder daaruit kom word het. Ja, Jesus is die een wat ons op ons lewenspaaie lei, sodat ons ook die ingang van die kraal kan binnegaan en dat ons kan tuis wees in die kraal wat vir ons gebou is. Die einde van Christo se rolprent wat voor ons afspeel vanoggend eindig nie hoop verlore nie. Die slotverhaal van Christo se lewe en ook sy sterwe is dat hy nog 'n ander tuiste het en dat hy nou kan deel hê in 'n nuwe tuiste en in 'n rustigheid by die Here self, omdat hy in sy ewige kudde kon tuis gaan. Ja, vandag is hy tuis in 'n nuwe huis. Hy is tuis in 'n nuwe kraal. Hy is tuis in die hemelse kraal, om daar saam met dieselfde herder te kan wees. Die herder wat ons vandag hier lei, is ook die herder wat hom daar lei. Want God is en God was, maar God sal ook tot in alle ewigheid wees. Hy was mens op hierdie aarde en hy het die dood hier oorwin en hy het opgevaar. Ons vierde donderdag die hemelvaart van ons Here Jesus Christus. Daar die absolute sekerheid, nie 'n ander plek nie, nie 'n ander God, nie dieselfde God. Sodat ons ook ten spyte van ons verhuising van hierdie aarde, van hierdie kraal na 'n nuwe kraal, saam met ons herder sal kan wees. Vir ons wat saam hier is en wat saam met hom gewandel het, is dit sleg. Dit is vir ons sleg dat ons moet afskeid neem. Maar dit is nie vir ons sleg omdat ons kan weet dat hy nou kan deel hê in die ewige heerlikheid van God nie. Daaroor is ons dankbaar. En daaroor is ons opgewonde omdat ons kan weet hy kry deel aan 'n nuwe lewe, aan 'n ewige lewe saam met God. Ja, ons sal hom in ons kraal mis. En ja, sy plek sal leeg wees. Hy sal gemis word omdat hy in ons lewens vir ons baie spesiaal was. Omdat hy ook in ons lewens vir ons so baie gedoen en beteken het. Liewe familie, vriende, broers en susters, ons troos vandag is nie geleë in woorde nie. Ons troos vandag is geleë in daardie absolute sekerheid dat God 'n werklikheid is. Dat God werklik vir ons 'n herder is. Dat hy werklik vir ons daar is om vir ons vas te hou. Ons troos vandag lê in daardie absolute sekerheid dat die prys wat Jesus aan die kruis betaal het, nie 'n goedkoop prys was nie, maar 'n duur betaalde kruis. 'n duur betaalde straf wat hy gedra het, omdat hy die straf van die sonde kon wegneem het. Omdat hy die straf van die dood tot niet kom maak het. En aan ons net soos vir Christo, die geleentheid gee om vir ewig te kan lewe. Ja, Jesus is die ware en die enigste redder. Hy is ons troos. Ja, God is ons troos deur sy Heilige Gees, wat ook by en met elkeen van ons is. Elke keer daar, waar ons eie oë oopmaak, is die Here daar. Elke keer as ons oog knip, is hy deur sy Gees steeds daar. Want deur sy Gees is God vir ons 'n trooster, 'n hulp en 'n ondersteuning wat in en deur elkeen van ons woon en werk, vir ons lei, elke oomblik van elke dag. Mag die Here van groot liefde en ontferming ons dan ook in sy liefde toevou. Mag hy ons seën en beskerm. En mag hy as herder ook vir julle in hierdie pad wat vir julle voorlê lei. Mag julle sy stem hoor en hom getrou volg. En weet, hy sal julle lei op die regte pad, tot die eer van sy naam. Ek is die goeie herder. Ek ken my skape en my skape ken my. En ek, sê Jesus, lê my lewe af vir my skape. Amen. Terwyl ons so sit, kom ons bid saam. Here, baie dankie dat U vir ons 'n herder is en dat ons in afhanklikheid voor U mag leef. Maar dankie Here ook vir die voorreg wat ons het om in 'n verhouding met U te mag lewe en mag bestaan. En dat ons ook in afhanklikheid na U kan opkyk en weet, U is vir ons daar. En daarom vra ons ook vandag, Here, dat U so saam met Annie Marie en Jolanda en hulle hele familie sal wees, saam met Christo se vriende sal wees. Wil U ook vir elkeen van hulle styf vashou. Wil U vir hulle lei. Wil U vir hulle bystaan. Wil U hulle toevou en aan hulle U beskerming gee. Want ons weet in U hande, daar is hulle veilig. Here, ons vra ook waar ons nou hier vandaan vertrek na die begrafplaas, om daar sy liggaam te ruste te laat lê. Wil ons vra, Here, dat U asseblief saam met ons daar sal wees. Dat U ook daar vir ons 'n rots sal wees, wat ons aan kan vashou. Dat U ons ook daar met U Gees sal troos. Ons bid dit en ons vra dit in Jesus se naam alleen. Amen. Geliefdes, ek wil graag geleentheid gee vir die verteenwoordigers van Transnet om 'n paar woorde te kom spreek. I'd like to give the opportunity for the people of Transnet to come and have a word, and I'd like to give Mr. Magakula, the executive manager, the opportunity to come and have a few words. Please come to the front. You can come and stand here by the microphone. You're more than welcome.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Special greetings to the family of the Father Merwe, the entire family and the wife. Ladies and gentlemen, in particular the Father Merwe family, the parents as well as the wife, the brothers and sisters. Yeah, thank you. My name is Mbezi Magabula. I work for TFR. I'll give you a brief history of where Christo and I started to meet. He was a good friend of mine. He was a colleague, and he was a person I could confide in. I know that he was employed in Transnet in 1995. I was employed a year before him, that was in 1994. Our paths never really crossed until around 1998 when we started hearing performance. But I got to know Christo a lot around 2005. At the time, he was promoted to a senior manager position where, amongst others, he was responsible for the pricing strategy in TFR. My role at the time was to develop, my role at the time was to develop the volume budget for TFR, short-term and medium-term, and his role, as part of his role then of being a pricing strategist, he would then price the demand, the volume budget, and also determine the revenue budget for TFR, both in the short and medium term. Around 2008, the departments merged. And then at the time, he and I then reported to the same boss. And that's when I got to know him well. We literally sat next to each other like this in an open plan office. And the wall between us was literally this short. So I could talk to him all the time. And we did a lot of things, including like lunching a lot together. And that is when I started to know him as a person. And to be frank, and I will not exaggerate in any of the things that I'm gonna say. The person I got to know since then portrayed a lot of good traits, and it's a bunch of them, from hardworking, commitment, forever smiling, respectful, thoughtful, caring, empathy. All those things for me are what described Christo for me. And I'll demonstrate some of the things that I remember he doing to us that were an inspiration that I learned from, some of which I still have to learn and try to practice. Christo had a lot of empathy, I remember one day there was a guy that got ill while we were at work. Christo took that guy in his car, took him to the hospital, visited him regularly, and gave us all feedback on how he was doing. If I remember correctly, he even offered to fetch the guy when he was discharged and took him to his house. That is who Christo was for us. He also, during this period, because we were close and we worked in the same department, people would call us. And a number of people shared with me what he had said to them when they had either bereavements or things like that. And it was just touching for me that he has touched so many lives in TFR. He touched mine personally in 2014 when my dad passed on. I don't know, but he had a gift where he could see things through your heart and be able to then soothe you through your eyes, and he could feel things through your heart, and he could give you comfort and just make you understand that things will be better, and just give you a great deal of relief. I don't know the number of people in TFR that have also indicated how he has comforted them when they were ill, and so forth and so on. So I think I have written here something that summarizes all the story, and it reads as follows. His ability to respond to others' emotions and feelings was impeccable. That is who Christo was. He also had a lot of dry sense of humor, as well as being funny. I'll start on some of the simpler things to maybe some of the, because I'm trying to be as general as possible. Some of the things would have been directed to him, some of the things would be directed to us as a collective. But I remember around 2000, I think he got married after that. There was this lady in particular that used to ask him, when are you getting married? And Christo, being Christo, he would just say, Nipandach. Yeah. And there are moments when things would, in a workshop, in a meeting, and such environments where things would really be tense. And, I think he had an understanding that when things were tense, we needed to relax so that we could think better. So he would pass remarks like, hey, guys, why don't we just have a beer? And then we would start maybe deviating from the core thing and refocusing, and then come back better. Yeah, that is how I have experienced him. Towards him getting sick and at times feeling maybe overwhelmed, he was a very courageous man, because most of the time he did not show what he was going through. But towards the end, he then said, it's difficult, but I'm a bull boy. When we played rugby as young kids, all you would survive on, however badly you were bruised or hurt, is get a water and get going. I think that is how he conducted his journey to the end. Yeah. And then, as a colleague, Christo was he was a true professional. He was a true professional, and I'll probably spend most of the time on this aspect of his contribution towards the company. Personally, for me, what I liked about him is, when you have been asked to do something and you feel that you have done it, I always felt that I know if I were to hand it over to Christo to look at, it would come out a lot more better. So even the things that I was tasked to do, because it was deemed that I knew them better, he would always bring in perspectives that wowed even myself. That is who Christo was for me, ladies and gentlemen. And then over time, Christo became such an important person because of his willingness to help, his vast knowledge and interest in all facets of the company. He was one of the few people that have participated in the most strategic, some of the most strategic projects that the organization has undertaken, including things like the restructuring of the company. It has led to BUs, and there was in 2019 an operations model for Transnet that was developed, and he was part of that team. So he was that jewel in the company, both at Transnet Freight Rail and at group level. He was part of that. But the things that really touched me about him work-wise, some of which, like I have said, I would like to emulate, include, he was really true to himself and very critical of himself. So he could keep himself, he had the ability to keep himself in line. He was big in knowledge sharing. He didn't care what level you were or who you were in the organization. Christo was a go-to person. He had an open heart and open door, and any of us knew that we can go to him anytime. He really gave us all support, irrespective of who we are and however much he may be loaded himself. He was also particular about quality. I bet you all his work, if we were to check the quality of it, we would all be impressed. He was particular about quality all the time. And he was also, what you would see from his work was the amount of analytical capability that he puts into things, and his ability to compress things in a manner that I can simply refer to as impressive. Yeah. I will be light on this, but yeah, I will touch some of the things that some of the people also said to phrase their relationship with him as colleagues when they called me to either console me or to convey a surprise on his passing, right? So this particular guy said to me, you know, Ngembezi, I have had different views from him. He was not afraid to articulate a different view, but he articulated it such that in the end, I felt like we were disagreeing, but his input would be what I agree to, but he would in turn make me believe that I'm the one who probably gave the last view, the agreed view. So that was Christo. He just didn't want credit. He didn't care too much about credit. He just wanted things to be what they ought to be. So that was a great attribute of him that I also liked a lot. And yeah, I'll leave this part. I think the next speaker will cover it, some of the messages that came from other colleagues. So I'd like at this juncture to say, just to summarize his contribution to the organization as follows. He had an unparalleled expertise combined with the innovative thinking and sheer passion for his work that made him one of the most respected figures in the company. He was really big in the company. Through the all corners of this country, Christo was known and very much appreciated and loved. On a personal level, I will miss Christo terribly. He changed the dynamics wherever he was with his tremendous sense of humor, warmth, and intelligence. When he was involved, I knew everything would be better. When he spoke, Christo was listened to, not only for what he said, which always moved our thinking on, but also for the way he said it, quietly, utterly without posturing, but with immense authority. I will miss him as well for his fierce dedication to doing what is right, which I believe was his core value, his counsel, and his friendship. To the rest of the family, may the love and the mercy of God be with you during these trying times. To Yolanda in particular, to Mam van der Merwe as well. Thank you.
give Mrs. Itole the word. You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. To the family, friends, and colleagues. I must tell you, this has been hard. It's been quite difficult. This morning, I had to pray to be able to talk to you because I just couldn't, I still cannot accept it. But my family prayed with me. And my uncle is 87. He was visiting, and he saw me crying so much. And I said I lost a colleague and a friend. And as we were talking, and some of you might think this is offensive or whatever, but remember, this is an 87-year-old man that grew up in a farm. And then he asked me, what's the name of your colleague? I said, Christo van der Merwe. He said, huh? I said, yes. And said, this is a friend that you're talking about. But then he said, you know, I can feel you. I know those people. I know the people that are like that, that touch your heart. So I'm here today to really pay a tribute to a dear colleague and a friend. My name is Pumzile. I'm normally called Pumi. I'm the General Manager Commercial at Transnet Freight Rail. Christo is one of 5 executive managers in my department. Nyembezi is one of them, and there's Nonjongo sitting there. On Monday, 3rd May, I was attending a meeting where our CE and some of the executives were hosting a delegation from Maputo. I started getting calls from my team while I was in the meeting. I just sent them messages to say, I'm currently in the meeting, I will talk to you when I'm done. The meeting continued. Then all of a sudden, Ali Motala, who's sitting right there, was sitting next to me and looked at me with shock in his eyes. He was holding a phone and he looked at me with shock. Then I checked my phone. The message read, Christo van der Merwe passed away this morning. I was confused. I was talking to Christo on Thursday. We were in a meeting with Christo on Thursday. But I said, I only know one Christo. This cannot be my Christo. That's what I said to myself. I quickly stepped out of the room. My knees buckled. I had to sit down. People around me asked, what's wrong? They thought I was fainting. Words just could not come out of my mouth. I just showed them the message. I was in disbelief. I was confused and shocked. Seriously, I thought it meant another Christo. But I only know one Christo, our Christo in commercial. There's no any other Christo. I called Ashina. She too was still confused and in disbelief. I called Amanda sitting there. She confirmed the message and she was crying. I couldn't hardly hear her. our world changed at that very moment in commercial and in Transnet. I still cannot erase these words in my mind. Sometimes, and this is the truth, I wake up in the middle of the night and I will just wake up and the screen on my phone, it will just come up and still say, Christo van der Merwe passed away this morning. I really wish I didn't read that message. And I know it's not gonna change the cause, but I just cannot get that message out of my mind and out of my mind. I wake up in sweat. But maybe today, seeing, then maybe one will be able to accept. But it has been difficult. The first time I met Christo, I was not his manager. I was responsible for converting cargo from road to rail. I challenged him about pricing strategies and what we needed to apply to enable this road to rail strategy. Christo calmly explained to me that it is not only the price we needed to convert the cargo from road to rail. We also needed to do few other things in the company. And we debated this and we discussed it. And he was telling me some of the things that we needed to change. And I was like, oh, how far is it? He said, I said, let's change the strategy. And but then we telling me a whole lot of things. And it started only the way that we had decided. Because every day was explained. Every end I was so confused. And that's what we have been pushing all day. I just want to paint a picture that this man meant to us as commercial and sales department. And the CFR and transport organization as a whole. Because I, sitting here, I cannot convey the messages that we receive throughout the organization, not just CFR, across other divisions, across commercial supplies, across vendor, across agents. Number one, just to let you know, Christo was tough. There's no doubt about that. He expected the best from everyone, and from his team members, and from me. He also expected the best from himself, so he wasn't asking us things that he wasn't expecting from himself. He believed we all have it in us to be great and contribute to the greater good. He believed in his team and he took interest in developing them and sharing his knowledge of the business and his expertise, and I think many of us have been to that. As I was reflecting, I was said to myself, I think if more people believe in all of us like that along the way, throughout our lives, we'll be better off as a society in so many ways. If we could have one person believe in you the way that you believe in his kids and in us as people. You are the lawyer of this thing. Who believe in CFR and Transnet as a whole. And I'm not talking about blind ignorance, but I'm talking about the capability of the organization to believe that Transnet has the capability of being greater than what we are now. He was always more focused on the good of the company. in the department. Then on his own benefit. He made many great contributions to the company and helped us move forward in numerous ways that I can count. Some of the amazing leaders from the world. I can tell you now that his work and his reputation are never be forgotten. God knows he took everything he's taught in this company up until the last day. And it is so painful for us because we actually didn't realize the extent, because he was that strong. He didn't show us, and you will call on him. He will never say no. He will never say no. Throughout his illness, I think Christo only one time, it was not long ago. Then we had a meeting late afternoon, and he declined that meeting. So when I called, I didn't realize that he had declined the meeting. So I called him, and then I said, okay, that's fine. And he, first thing in the morning, he called me. He said, he asked me, did I want something? Then I said, no, I was just checking where you were because I didn't see you in this meeting. And then, and it was with one of our big customers. And Christo said, no, I declined that meeting because I wasn't feeling, I had to lie down. That was the first I heard Christo say something like that. Then I said, okay, fine, don't worry about it. More than a simple straight talker, Christo had generous and unselfish soul. And I think this is what Nyembezi was saying. And I'm sure many of you here today can attest to that. One of the best things about having Christo as a colleague was that he was always prepared to give a hand. We will say the same thing that Nyembezi was saying because this is the person that he was. It might sound like a repetition, but this is how we experienced him. He was always there and eager to lend a hand. And that's something I've been grateful for myself on numerous occasions. And I must say, he protected me. You know, when you're dealing with pricing and there are numerous requests, and Christo will come to me and say, you know, this request, let's look at it because we don't want to either end up being challenged by the competition commission or whatever. And he will always be there, or if there's some that will come and say, oh, this is urgent, and then he will always say to me, okay, so let's find, let's push it, but let's make sure that we adhere to the compliance and governance processes, because he was always like that. Whatever the challenge was, we all got to know his quick yet serious smile and ever-ready words of encouragement. Christo's contributions were powerful and his work ethic more than remarkable till the end. Commitment, integrity, expertise in his field are words that captured my image of Christo. Loyalty, friendship, all of those words in a similar vein that Nyembezi experienced him. I will deeply miss our late afternoon discussions. He will come to my office late afternoon because we are always so busy, and we'll have these discussions about work, life, religion, sports, rugby, motorbikes, and camping. He tried to convince me that I needed to go camping. It is so relaxing and all that. I looked at him. I said, Christo, I grew up in a farm in Blue Bush in Newcastle. We didn't have electricity then. So we had a paraffin lamp. So the idea of going out and sleeping in the bush using some lamp, to me, is not an idea of relaxing. I said, I think that I've come a long way. So if that is relaxing, Christo, that means I have been very much relaxed growing up. And we will laugh about it. I will laugh about it. Then the other time, when my son turned 16, and my son wanted to take a motorbike license, and I'm worried about that. So I'm talking to Christo, thinking he's gonna say, yeah, it's not for kids. Instead, he offered to take him for a spin, and he was trying to convince me that it really is good for boys. I'm like, Christo, remember, this is my last Lameki, so I just want to keep him home and safe, so we'll joke about that. As Nyembezi said, Christo's legacy is knowledge and knowledge sharing. In 2019, we even honored him with that award. Christo would have received a whole lot of awards in the organization, but let me just tell you, he always said, let's give it to someone else. This one, I insisted. I said, this one is yours. Legacy is a very overused word sometimes. It seems sometimes that everyone has to have one. But with Christo is true. He has left behind a very real legacy, which will affect the way we do things in our department and at TFR for a long time to come. Just to share with you some of the outpouring messages I received from Transnet across the divisions, functions, different people of racial groups and ages, as I said, I cannot, it's been overpouring. This one message reads, I personally admired Christo. He was one who stood for his principles and could present sound, well-founded arguments in any meeting or exco presentation. But he always did so in a friendly and courteous manner, keeping a good sense of humor. His high standards, diligence, excellent people relationships, and deep insights, which he shared freely, will always be remembered. That message was from Yanis Maybeck from another department, not even commercial. After that meeting on Monday, I got a message that reads like this: just reflecting on Christo's passing and what an absolute dedicated gentleman he was. It is a real loss for family. Finally, on behalf of the Executive Committee of Transnet Freight Rail, the commercial and sales team, and all the people who have known and worked with Christo, I am here today to say a final thank you. Thank you to a colleague, to a brother, to a friend, for being a great human being who used his life to serve all of us at Transnet. I also extend my gratitude to you, Yolanda, and the family, the mother, the brothers, and the sisters, for allowing us to have this great soul, for sharing him with us. Thank you for giving us the most unselfish, generous, loyal person most of us have ever known. And believe you me, I never thought that I would be able to say this, this tribute without being emotional. But when I started this morning, I could hear Christo's voice in my head saying, "Go on, Pumi, you can do it." And my doing it today, now, this is just it shows that he is with us. His voice will forever be in our head. Ashina was telling me the other time, they work very closely. And we were doing a presentation sometime. And then Ashina is always reluctant to voice her opinion. And then, and it's as if Christo knew, because he's been pushing us just a bit, pushing his team just a bit. And he pushed Ashina, said, "Ashina, go ahead. I know you don't agree with," and he was sending him a message. "I know you don't agree with the statement that Pumi just said. Go ahead, say it. Say it." And Ashina had to raise her hand and say that. So, and we were thinking, we said, that voice will always be there. He will always be there encouraging us. So, family, rest assured that, and be comforted that Christo has changed the trajectory of the lives of so many that have worked with him. Most will go on and have great careers because of him. Those that open themselves to understand and accept his teachings, his advice, have benefited a great deal. And we are seeing the results for many years to come. I realize now that Christo was not enduring the pain for himself, but it was for Yolanda, the family, the friends, the colleagues, and the company, and his country. He loved this country. He wanted us to, as a trusted, to really, and he understood that we are the backbone of this economy. So he wanted us to really push ourselves and perform at greater heights, and he believed that to the end. So my message to everyone here is that rest assured, he will never be forgotten. He will forever live in our hearts and in our minds and in the work that he has done for our company. May his soul rest in everlasting peace. I am saying, Christo, you can rest now. You have done your job. And you have groomed the young generation. They are here. And if it wasn't for COVID, this hall will be full. That is your legacy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Broers en susters, ons verrigtinge verder gaan en so verloop. Ek gaan vir ons die name lees van die persone wat as draers hier by die kerk en by die graf gaan optree. Dan vra ek maar dat die persone wat die draers hier by die kerk is vir ons hier na vore sal kom. En dan gaan ek vir ons die begrafnisbrief lees terwyl ons dan staan. En dan terwyl ons weer die kus na buite neem, en die draers sal hulle weer vir ons 'n lied daarmee saam speel. So as draers hier by die kerk tree op Rudy White, Pierre Joubert, Jacques Eksteen, Johan Visser, Jan Cronje en Tini Jooste sy vriende. En by die graf gaan dan wees Rikus van der Merwe, Johan Corrie van der Merwe, sy broers, Marno van der Merwe, 'n broerskind, Ruben van der Merwe, 'n broerskind, Wynand de Plooi, sy swaar, Chris Wheeler, 'n vriend en 'n kollega. As die draers dalk ons hier na vore sal kom asseblief. En dan vra ek dat ons staan vir die begrafnisbrief. In liefdevolle herinnering aan Christo van der Merwe, gebore 3 November 1973, oorlede 3 Mei 2021. Ek wens ek kon die pyn vir jou dra. Ek wens ek kon jou seer kry wegvat. Ek wens ek kon al jou vrae antwoord. Ek wens ek kon die wêreld vir jou gee. Maar ek is net 'n mens en ek is magteloos. Hier op my knieë is my gebed. Dit breek my hart om jou so te sien. Ek weet dat jy dit nooit verdien. Maar vir elke traan wat jy huil, huil ek myne. En dan bring ek vir jou net weer tot voor die troon. So as jy alleen en bang in die donker lê en wag, onthou my woorde, want dis sy belofte. Ek lê jou by Jesus se voete neer. Hy ken jou vrese, jou twyfel, al jou seer. Hy bring lewe en vrede in jou hart. Hy sal jou vashou. Hy sal jou nooit verlaat nie. Hy's altyd by jou, al maak niks vir jou sin nie. Ek lê jou by Jesus se voete neer. Geliefdes, kom ons ontvang die seën van die Here en dan gaan ons hiervandaan heen in sy vrede. Die Here sal julle seën en julle beskerm. Die Here sal julle gebede verhoor en aan julle sy vrede gee. Amen.